Hello, I'm Glenn W. Hunter, and I have with me today James Woods and Tamika Carter. And we're here representing TIPS, TIPS IE, Trauma Informed Prevention Services of the Inland Empire. And one of the things we're going to be talking about today is academics, schools, our students, and really how they are overcoming these unique times and tribulations that they have to endure, and how do we get them moving more progressively forward when the time comes for them to get back to the new normal. So we have some unique talent here that's going to be bringing their own unique insight. And we're going to start with the first question with Ms. Tamika Carter. And a big part of her contribution is, and I'll let you briefly introduce yourself, Tamika.
So hi guys, my name is Tamika Carter. I practice as an addictions and mental health specialist, and I'm also credentialed as a school counselor. Most of my practice has been in treating youth ages 5 through 18, as well as adults. Primarily, I've served schools by creating programs and different types of groups that help them, mostly at a tier 2 intervention level, in a way that they can reach the students who are impacted by poverty, mental illness, as well as other factors that just impair their ability to learn and function academically.
Outstanding. And also with us, we have James Woods, also goes by Dat Yoga Dude, which I think is one of the great nicknames of the Inland Empire. James, how would you present yourself to our audience?
Well, thank you for hosting this and bringing me in, Glenn. So I'll let them know I'm James, that yoga dude Woods, and I have been working with Feel Free to Feel Free for the last 6 years and working with youth for well over a decade. And we provide health and wellness skills and tools for youth. So health and wellness, of course, that means the mind and the body, and helping the youth get the proper attitude and character to deal with the stress, deal with the anxiety, deal with the depression, and the different impressions that especially these times have been putting on them. So we help the youth to calm down, relax, and get put in a place where they can learn and they can focus. Decrease those behaviors that take away from education and increase those behaviors that help them to engage with each other and with the adults who really care about them, like you good folks here on this panel. So we're all about helping the kids to breathe and to relax and to feel free to feel free.
Outstanding. So let's get to the meat of it.
Right.
Tamika, your role in the learning community is very specific and very powerful at the same time. You know, you talk about the things that you're able to do with some specific challenges, substance abuse obviously being one of them. How would you describe the impact that you have in the daily lives of the students you serve?
So what I do daily is make sure that I am connecting with every portion of the school community on all levels. If that means meeting a mother outside after school because she has 4 kids that she's got in the car and can't come in, then that's what I'll do. If that means meeting with the teacher about her own anxieties that maybe, or her own traumas that create an issue to teaching per se as a particular student, maybe they're having conflict, then I provide strategies for that. I provide one-on-one consultation and am able to help them get through that process with accountability as well. Another level is working with the administrators. A lot of our administrators, and we have to always remember as mental health practitioners, that educators are not mental health practitioners. They work with kids, they love kids, but understanding the developmental, the social, psychological issues is not first nature to them. So one of my largest jobs is making sure that I can sit on panels and influence leadership in ways for schools that can affect kids from the disciplinary process, anywhere from the truancy process, and gifted programs as well. Sorry, that's another one of my caveats. So I try to make sure that when administrators are designing kind of tools for their school, that they have my influence, the mental health influence, the developmental psychology influence that guides those decisions.
Tremendous. So when you start talking about the whole spectrum of gifted students on the one hand, and then students who have, quite frankly, substance abuse issues, how do you intellectually balance such a broad spectrum in the service you provide?
Well, you know, with a lot of our students, especially minority students of color, We have a lot of young people who are twice exceptional. So twice exceptional means that they may be autistic and they may be, have a huge ability for art. And so, or they may be depressive, they may be prone to depression or some other mental illness. However, they are a math whiz. And there are some of these pairings that kind of go together. We've got our computer nerd kind of type that is typically having social anxiety or other issues. So one of the things that I do is try to utilize a form of therapy called Gestalt therapy. And what Gestalt does is ask you to bring two parts of the whole into one. So myself, I spent most of my life as a cheerleader and a martial artist. Totally different, right? And so what I did is integrate all of those parts, right? So I'm fierce, but I'm soft. I have this voice, but I also can be silent and attack. And so when we work with young people, we have to invite them into that world of understanding and acceptance. And that's something that honestly a lot of adults have not done, is accepted that there are dual or multiple pieces of themselves that can be integrated into a unique whole, and they can operate in a healthy manner out of that whole.
Wow. It's ironic that you talk about the martial arts component of that. So I'm going to use that as a segue to jump over to that yoga dude. And James, I want to put the next question to you. Your gift is communicating with people, not just verbally, where anybody who's ever met you has undoubtedly been charmed, but also physically that you interact with the youth that you deal with. Can you describe the service you provide specifically to the young people you encounter in the school community?
Yes, first I just want to touch on, I've never been more scared of a fellow panelist than I have been before. With martial arts from Tamika, I'm a little intimidated, but being able to communicate is a huge part of what we do and engage in the youth, and especially engage in the parents and the teachers that are involved with the youth. So we do weekly classes, we do meditation, mindfulness classes, yoga classes that actually work with going through the different postures and poses and breaking down how those postures and poses in the yoga class can be adaptable to their life, can be adaptable to the situations they have in school and out of school, how to help them deal with stress, how to help them deal with stress, tension, how to help them relax and get a good night's sleep. And we also provide those trainings for teachers and parents as well. So we do trainings, we call one from yelling to yoga, where we help to incorporate those postures and poses and those different physical practices into the parenting. And then we have a teacher development training. We want to make sure teachers have the tools to help those students who sometimes just have a hard time sitting down at their desk, want to get up and walk around, sharpen a pencil 12 million times. They need to move. So we give them some postures and some poses to help those students who have a hard time sitting down and want to go to PE all day. But now they have the ability to stay focused, get refocused if they need to through these postures and poses that we teach the teachers. And of course, the weekly classes or the bi-weekly or monthly or whatever classes that we do with the students, it helps them get control of their body. So it helps to start a conversation with themselves and their body. A big part of our communication teaching is teaching people how to communicate with themselves, understanding when they need to move, understanding when they need to rest, understanding when they're frustrated, when they're angry. Just breaking down how yoga can be a huge tool in helping them communicate not only with their peers, parents, teachers, but especially with themselves.
Wow. One of the joys of dealing with young children, school-age children, at least in my experience, is the simplicity and the complexity that merges between the two. And right. I know that in your interactions, from a meditation standpoint, you're really trying to get them to focus in on a specific mindset. In communicating to them, how do you distinguish in their minds, how do you distinguish the difference between meditation and nap time?
So sometimes they blend together. The body needs a nap, the body needs a nap. But when we talk about meditation, we're talking about a focus. And focus is a commodity these days, with especially so much of their attention going between their phone, their iPad, what's on this screen, what's on that screen, who's talking to them, teachers, parents. So if we get them to focus on one thing at a time, get them to focus on their breath, get them to focus on whatever meditation tool, sound, or sensory that we are bringing them through, then they can have that focus for themselves, and they become the controller of their focus instead of their focus constantly being pulled by all the distractions that are presented to them on a day. So we help them to identify something that they can focus on and stay present with, so that becomes their meditation. Some kids just focus on the sound of the music. Some kids focus on the movement in their body or the breath. Giving them the option to develop a sense of focus for themselves helps them to understand, hey, this is my meditation. This is what makes me focus. This is what keeps me out of trouble and not talking or getting up and being disruptive in class. So this is a tool that I have. And once again, it brings them back to, this is a tool I can use to succeed in school. I got my meditation, I'm listening, I'm tuning in, and we help them to find whatever works for them in their communication.
I think academically, focus is the holy grail,
right?
For being effective. And Tamika, I want to point this one toward you, because the students you deal with, one, require focus, but sometimes they're also battling both emotional issues and chemical issues that are going through their bodies at that time. How do you manage interacting with those who have substance abuse issues, where focus really is not just a challenge, but in many cases disruptive?
Well, a lot of my young people, so again, I look at things from a developmental perspective. So if you're looking at elementary age kiddos, hopefully there's no chemical, unless in the case that a young person is taking psychotropic medication. That's a completely another segment. But in terms of substance abuse, your common marijuana, your alcohol, some of your main things that young people are taking, it really differs. So with focus, with the young person who's using alcohol, of course you're gonna see things like sleep, you're gonna see irritability, and you're definitely not gonna see focus. With the young person who is smoking maybe tobacco, yeah, maybe so more there. With the young person who is using marijuana, not so much. Unless it is some medically prescribed and they have it attuned well to their, to their needs. However, a lot of times focus is out the window. But the problem is that, and what I look at is co-occurring disorders. So a lot of substance abuse issues come after a mental health disorder. So a lot of my kiddos who are using marijuana excessively had an anxiety issue, and they're treating it or self-treating with that. And a lot of my kiddos who are depressive, or I'm sorry, who are using alcohol have social anxiety issues. Social anxiety is huge with this generation because, of course, this is what they know. And so when you're dealing with kiddos who are, I mean, honestly, at the point that they are substance abusing, academics has pretty much left. It's probably left a year ago. There are not a lot of kiddos that I've worked with who are actively abusing. I mean, abusing to the point of out of control, can't even wake up on time kind of stuff, doing really daring, risky things with their lives. A lot of those kiddos, they're so far gone. A lot of them are already truant. And so at that point, we're doing what's called kind of maintenance. We're dealing with the real, right? Like I say this all the time. It ain't right, but it's real. So how are we going to deal? The truth is, a lot of the young people we're working with have been using. They are not going to stop today, and they are not going to just snap out of it. And so, a lot of addiction specialists are not okay with this. I understand that. However, maintenance or just harm reduction with youth and educating them, primarily educating them and making them self-aware, like James was saying, self-aware of your body sensations, that's where you start with them. Because, I mean, we know with teens and even adults, self-awareness is lacking. And so the problem that they have is they feel that they can engage in certain types of behaviors and never feel a consequence. And so the more you can put into their face, like, hey, you flunked that test that day. Anything to do with that party you went to last night? The more you can put that in their atmosphere without being forceful, without being aggressive, the more you can get them to kind of take a look at their own lives and look at what's going on with them. A great teacher of mine said, when you try to deal with teens, especially, if you do this, they're going to do this. If you just do this, guess what? They're going to chill, they're going to open up, and you're going to get what you need to be able to find some growth with that young person.
James, I want to give you the same question in the same framework. The issue of substance abuse and performance as you're interacting with them in a more physical perspective. What are some of the challenges that you see?
I agree with Tamika about meeting students where they are. And sometimes they are coming in under the influence of substances or they've had a long night of substances. I've had some students who just come into class and they just lay down and kind of rest. And it's what their body needed to make them more attentive and alert for the next class. They just need to be able to rest. I don't like working with students who are under the influence currently because that's a safety risk for them. They can be hurt in several different ways if they're not consciously there, not paying attention. But when they notice how being able to just breathe deep, being able to relax, being able to focus on one thing makes them feel calm, makes them feel relaxed. I always connect that with, isn't that the same feeling you're trying to get when you're smoking weed or when you are drinking or when you're trying to do this? You are trying to get out of your head. That's why you are taking this substance. It's something that's in your head, that's on your mind, that is causing you anxiety, that is causing you stress. Now you take yourself out of that. Cool. People do it all the time. But here is something for free that you can do. It doesn't cost anything. You don't have to go anywhere. And it's constantly with you by taking a breath, moving your body, and being connected. It gives you those same feelings and it doesn't cost anything. So, like Tamika said, I bring them a tool, I bring them something that they can use to where they're already trying to go. All they understand is, I got this feeling, I have this thought, I don't want it. Marijuana got rid of it last time for me. The 40 ounce got rid of it last time for me. But now here goes some other options that can get rid of it for you. And it doesn't cost them that amount at all. And you can just do it anytime you need it. It's there for you. So I'll make sure that I help them understand this yoga, this mindfulness, meditation stuff that we're teaching is a tool for you to achieve the same things that the substance want to do, but it's cheaper, you get there faster, and it has less disruptive repercussions because the marijuana can get you in trouble with your probation officer, your parents, your teacher. The alcohol can get you in serious trouble, the other drugs. So just connecting those dots. You got trouble over here. You have just chilling and relaxing over here and building those skills to develop yourself further. It's on you to choose. So really having them choose and take ownership for their actions when we're talking about substance abuse in teens or youth in general.
Wow. Wow. So as we're coming in for the landing, we've talked about the kids, the interaction, the spectrum of issues that they have. You have teachers who are there, and they're having their various agendas, but there's still one more very important component to the education world, the circle of it, and that's the parents and their expectations. And both of you are in positions where you're healing, in essence, you're healing children in various ways as they're just trying to navigate through life, which isn't easy. So Tamika, I'm gonna put the question to you first, and James, you'll get the question afterwards. So you'll get a chance to improve on her answer, I guess. How do you describe meeting the parents' expectations when you're interacting with their children, trying to move their behavior in the direction and to the goal that you've set for them?
That varies, right? So that varies on the type of parent, definitely. We definitely have helicopter parents, we have overbearing parents, and we have lax parents, and we have like, why are you even here parents? The first thing with parents, honestly, is really getting them to take a look at their trauma, right? So if I have a kiddo who's actually in clinical counseling services with me, I'm assessing your mom too. I want to know what trauma mom went through. Because, for example, I had a client once who was a woman in her mid 30s, and her daughter approached the age 7, and she just went off. She kind of put her in a bubble. She couldn't do anything, and this is a very lively, extroverted young lady. And so what that kind of lent itself to, and what it went back to, is that mother had been sexually abused at age 7. And so the way that these parents are parenting their children definitely has a lot to do with the way that they were raised. So that's the first thing that we're going to assess. We're going to talk about, we're going to create a safe space for having those conversations about how that, or what they're going through in the past, what they went through in the past, or what they're going through now, right? A crazy relationship is impacting your kid. And so one of the most important things for me in dealing with people and parents is opening and teaching them how to have healthy communication with their young children. With all the children. And especially when it comes to kids ages, I'll say 10 to about 14, facial expression is a big deal. So a lot of what I do is coach parents to maintain and control their facial expressions and their reactions to when their kid tells them something that may not line up with their value system. So that's kind of where I start. And so getting the parents to a place where their expectations are realistic first begins with them looking at themselves. From there, they can better see their children, right? So how many parents are like, this kid is just argumentative, yet they just got done fussing with their boss. So once the parent can look at themselves, they see themselves in their child, and there's a more understanding, empathic, accepting conversation that goes on about expectations and behaviors. So that's kind of where I start. From there, it depends on people's readiness to change, readiness to adapt. There are some things in people's lives that have been there for a long time, and they serve a certain function. So there's certain like poverty mindsets, different things like that that serve a certain function, and they're harder to move. And so in therapy, it's all about really finding the handle, finding the thing that they want the most. And what I love, because I've worked with a lot of families who are really impoverished, and there's a lot of stereotypes about them not caring about their kids and that kind of stuff. And I'm here to say that I have witnessed single fathers, out of incarcerated parents, grandparents who are sick with several things, that with that handle being that child's success, that child raising above whatever the previous generation did, they are able to get on on a plane where their expectations are level and where they're growing together. And that's beautiful because it impacts not only the child, but impacts the entire family system.
Outstanding, outstanding. James, again, same question, describing that parent interaction and the breadth of it all.
I am that yoga dude because the kids called me that yoga dude. They didn't know my name, but they looked at me and said, "Hey, it's that yoga dude," because they recognize what I brought to them and for them. And I'm in it working with the kids because of the kids. But I understood shortly that to have a real impact on the children, you have to have an impact on the adults. And the biggest thing I learned is education, educating the adults on what we are doing. Yoga is fairly new to a lot of communities, especially communities of color, disenfranchised communities, because yoga in the American tradition has been something set aside for people who had the financial and the time freedom to be able to explore this new thing. So a lot of people just don't know what yoga is, don't know what mindfulness and meditation is. So it's a lot of educating people on this is what we're doing is not another religion that we're trying to bring people in. We're not a part of a cult or anything like that. We're not going to bend your kid into a pretzel or anything like that. We are taking the principles of breathing, stretching, relaxing, being aware to help your kid calm down, to help your kid relax. So when we educate the parents on what the outcome is, and we educate the parent on what the steps to the outcome is, and we, so some parents come up and they just straight up, I don't do yoga. I'm down with Jesus. I don't do yoga. I was like, okay, well, let me tell you how we can incorporate yoga into you and your relationship with Jesus or you and your relationship with everything else. A lot of people in general and parents think that yoga is something foreign and something outside of what they identify their culture is, what they identify their income level is. So we were like, no, I'm that yoga dude, and I'm going to explain to you how yoga is a part of your life. You probably have already been doing yoga. So we break it down to simple elements that they can incorporate into their lives. Once again, providing those solid tools that they can use to achieve the goals that everybody wants. At the end of the day, parents want their kids to do well academically. They want their kids to behave well. They want their kids to shine and be a representative of the best light that they offer. And we give them the tools to help them do that, and the tools so they don't get in trouble when they are working with their kids. That's why our program is called From Yelling to Yoga. We want to make sure parents have those skills and tools to be able to shine and be the best they can with their students and their children and the best they can with themselves. So we do a lot of education with parents, and we do a lot of, just like with kids, meeting them where they are and helping them to receive why these tools are powerful and impactful for their life now. And then we just hope it works, and we'll move forward with that.
Wow. Tamika, James, thank you. You guys have packed an enormous amount of information into a fairly narrow time window, and I greatly appreciate it. I believe our school communities will greatly appreciate it, and I think this is a great introduction to the impact that TIPS, IE, is going to be able to bring into getting our students not just to perform better, but also to be better adjusted as human beings. At the end of the day, we're building tomorrow's parents, tomorrow's leaders. And I think with the work you're doing, we're well on our way to achieving a better inland empire. So thank you for your time, your insight, and can't wait for the next one.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Again, Glenn W. Hunter, signing off. Tamika Carter, James, That Yoga Dude Woods. Be safe. We'll talk soon.